a TV interview.
Joining us now, author and relationship commentator Helen Croydon, who believes it's OK to touch colleagues at work, and newspaper columnist Daisy Buchanan, who says, don't touch me. Very good morning to you both.
Good morning. Hello.
Lots and lots of comments on this. And I would say the vast majority, Daisy, saying this is ridiculous. We cannot stop people touching each other on the arm, giving each other a hug when is necessary, perhaps kissing each other on the cheek. So do you think there is a confusion right at this moment where people think, goodness me, I can't do anything right?
Absolutely, and I think it's because of that confusion that we really need to talk about this. I think that all of these allegations that are surfacing, it's all to do with a culture that's been allowed to flourish because of this casual touching. Where do you draw the line? And I think that when someone touches your knee, because it seems so minor, it's very hard to speak out and say, this makes me uncomfortable. But it's for that reason where we need to talk about how it's all about the way that the person being touched feels, not the right of the person who wants to do the touching.
A man should not put his hand on a woman's knee. It's
not
one
in the
thing
workplace,
to touch someone's
not in
shoulder,
the
but if I put a hand on
I
Suzanne's
don't.
knee or
I
your
think
knee,
it's
it would be
totally. I
outrageous.
think it's totally fine if it's done in affection. I think it's natural. It's part of our human behaviour that we've been doing for years and
Put
years.
your hand on a woman's knee.
If it's in, like in the case where Claire Foy was offended. That was, you could see from those pictures, it was a friendly gesture.
She was doing her job. You shouldn't have a man touch you.
He didn't have eye contact with
body
her.
when you're doing your job, no matter how friendly the intention is.
Really? No, I totally disagree, because you can tell if something's sleazy or not. When people just get a little bit excited, it's a form of expression, a little bit like gesticulating with your hands like I'm doing now. You know, some people do it more than others, and I don't think you can edit this out of people's behaviour.
To convey friendliness, they need to become better communicators. You can show warmth verbally. You can't touch people's bodies without their consent.
It's natural. It's not something that you can edit.
But is it natural if people recoil for it? Why it must be all about the responsibility of the person who is doing the touching to ask first, say, is this appropriate?
It's interesting that you say...
Sorry, I just touched you there as well.
See, that's fine. See, I can do that. And that, to me, that feels totally natural, because I'm just saying, oh, OK, sorry, don't worry. It's almost like an assurance.
Yes, but there's no threat.
So here's the thing.
Well, here we go. When a woman does it, it's OK, but when a man does it...
If you're a man right now...
If you start thinking like that... No, well, then we're just creating another gender stereotype. And how can we ever have equality between the sexes if we keep having one rule for one sex?
Because of this weird type of environment.
I'm half agreeing with you, and I do think that touching is inevitable, and friendly touching is inevitable, but I think there are lines. I really think that. And I think a hand on a woman's knee is crossing a line. It's not a big line to cross, but you're crossing it.
You do have to be very good friends first. If it's a sort of, you know, collegiate atmosphere, just then, I did feel a bit uncomfortable, but also as though I couldn't say anything, because we're on national telly.
And
that is how many people
just
get away with it.
You just felt uncomfortable when she patted you on the shoulder.
I think because it's first thing in the morning and I'm a little bit nervous because of this.
There you go. See, this is
and also
where
because we're debating, I think we're in opposition. So
yeah, you know, I think this is where we have the problem, is that where I think it's your reaction that you feel uncomfortable. I think it's because we've edited our behaviour as a society that you feel uncomfortable with it. You only have to think, when we're in like a nightclub environment and you've had a couple of drinks...
edit my behaviour? Why shouldn't you edit your behaviour?
What I'm saying is you're feeling uncomfortable because we've created these rules that, oh gosh, you can't touch someone. You know how many times I've been in a meeting where you flinch because you've accidentally touched someone's leg? I actually think sometimes it's quite nice, you know, not in a sexual way at all. And when you're in a nightclub and you've had a few drinks, people are always grabbing each other around the neck and like doing the conga or something.
But usually
and it's perfectly acceptable. And
in a very friendly setting.
No, I think that's because it's our natural setting to sort of actually enjoy a bit of human touch.
Isn't it all about being able to pick up the signals from another person? For example, I am a man hugger. If I see a friend, a colleague or something, I haven't seen them for a few days or a week or two, I tend to give a hug. Now, I will pick up a signal amongst some of my male friends that they don't like that, and I'll never do it again. And you can tell the signal, because as you move in for the man hug, they put their hand up to shake.
Yeah.
And you get it. You say, oh, you don't...
That's that distance, and that's absolutely true. I don't think there's anything wrong with touching if you ask first, as long as you're really, really clear. And I think that now so many people are uncomfortable with it that, you know, you really have to observe... You know, the way that people react. You can't just say, oh, no, but I touch people, that's what I do. Well, I think it's OK.
But I think by creating this rule, we're really in danger of, and I'm talking now about the workplace, of, like, are just creating another one of these little rules that can be exploited. And dare I say it, there are a lot of people, of course, there are cases when people do get exploited at work, but there are also a lot of places where people they play the age card, they play the race card, they play the sexism card, and suddenly you can now get people, you know, so we're going to have this case where people go, oh, my boss touched my arm, when actually they're just being really innocently...
Except that we've got the trouble is that the culture at the Westminster at the moment is that there's far too much of this has been going on and people have felt intimidated and harassed.
The culture of touching allows harassers to exist in plain sight, and they can say, oh, I don't know why you're so upset. I touched your knee.
She's right there. It's the cover under which these guys operate. It's the old can't you take a joke culture.
But really, who gets a sexual kick out of touching someone's shoulder, really, or patting them on the back?
But it's about power, I think, isn't it? And especially, and the thing is as well, you can't say, don't touch me when it's your boss, when it's the person who's in charge of your work or how you get paid. And I think that, you know, women are vulnerable. What Anne Robinson said recently about, you know, women being weak, I don't think that's true or fair. I think there are so many settings where someone will touch you and you're not in a position where you feel like you can say, don't do that. You can't make a fuss. Women are socialised to never make a fuss.
We asked the viewers and did a Twitter poll and asked, is touching colleagues ever appropriate? 53% of you say no, it's not appropriate. Wow. So you just edge it there.
But there are lots of people coming. I mean, we've got comments here from people saying, Kelsey, for example, I have a hug buddy at work. It helps both of us feel appreciated. There's nothing sexual in it. Just two colleagues having a hug.
But
and another one from
lovely.
Jim in a busy A&E department. Sometimes if you don't have a hug, you would just break down. So for some people, I think in their working environment, that's the environment they live in.
There's loads of studies to say that touching is really, really good for us. We release a hormone called oxytocin when we're touched.
Doesn't it?
And there's countless studies to say that children, if they touch more, they commit less crime, it relaxes them.
Not that established.
One point, you won the argument, so a point on your side. This is from Jim. This is from Jim. He says, I used to work in a busy A&E department, and sometimes, mate, if you didn't have a hug, you break down.
Yeah,
so,
of course. It's about context, it's about consent, it's about how it makes each person in that embrace feel, doesn't it? And it's very hard to read someone else's mind, but I think we know both of your minds this morning. That's very, very clear. Daisy, thanks very much indeed.
Thanks, guys. 7:43, and here's Charlotte.